Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the work session of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Berlin. It's Monday, April 7th at 8:30 p.m. We're here with the fire company for our regular. We're joined by President David Fitzgerald and Chief Andy Grundon, as well as the full council, Town Administrator Mary Boland and Town Attorney David Gaskell. Is there a preference, David, Andy, on which department we start with?
Let's do fire company first.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the impact fees updates. So the update that I have regarding impact fees is to hold true for both organizations. In our FY26 budget, you can see that the impact fees are being adjusted on development. Development is speculated in FY26 in Berlin to be a little lower. So our impact fee collection is likely going to be lower as well. We also have the study as a carry forward, which would include evaluation of different services that might expand as development were to occur, which is where we'll seek input from the Berlin Fire Company and Berlin Fire Company EMS. So I hope that provides an update on impact fees. Item 2, we have the fire company contracts for fire and rescue services. I'll let you guys take that away.
Yeah, what we're doing, we're sending the contract over, and as noted, he always sends that through Mr. Gaskell, it's a legal document. And the only thing that we thought for discussion, and apparently you all agreed based on the email the mayor sent, is just pin down the dates for these semi-annual work sessions instead of leaving it so open. And in the contract, I think Mr. Moore looked at, and he just put some dates in there. I think he put the first and last Wednesday in September and March, or coincidentally, both September and March in the next year, September of 2025 and March of 2026, have a fifth Monday. You all don't meet on the fifth. We meet every Monday of some sort, except the fifth, and you all don't meet on the fifth. So maybe that's the solution, to just pencil that in. And that's all we were looking at, instead of leaving it so open.
Yeah, because
and then we're jumping schedules.
So Dave, you sent out an email, and you were kind of harsh with the council, calling us out for being in violation of the contract. And we need to be flexible on these dates, because sometimes things come up and we can't meet those exact dates. Can you do the same?
Well,
there's got to be some give and take here.
Right, and I think the harshness, came from we were open a whole month, and we start a month or two ahead of time, and we don't get any response, no response until the response is we can't meet. So we can put it back to, and I've talked to Joe Dahl as well. I'm sorry he's working, because the three of us are authorized to work on the contract. And we can put it back to just September or March. I think maybe then we just all together as a team, as two teams, in July, look ahead to September to get those dates picked.
Right, but in this case, I mean, I guess the contract said March, and we're a week late. It's really no big deal.
We just don't, but we don't want to push it out, because see, this is what happens tonight. We're all here till so dark late.
Yeah, but I mean, to the council member.
So just send us a suggestion to do.
No. So we're going to talk about it for a second. So to Councilmember Nur's point, we often have to do this, right? Because we only have so many evenings available. It's difficult sometimes to get the group together. So burning the oil a little later, we're sorry that has to occur to you guys because of your schedules. But please don't worry about us, because we're kind of used to this aspect. But the other side is, for this meeting in March, I think there was some confusion, and I explained this via email, that we thought the date was on the books. So having dates either firm and set, but knowing that they're subject to change if we have to, but definitely putting them on early will help everybody. There's got to be some flexibility periodically too.
So we'll get some sort of wording that pick the dates, and then we'll word it that, if a change has to be made, change has to be made.
And we also have a change that will stay true to. We also have a change that will stay true to both.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. But if we're going to extend the goodwill, we would expect to see it back.
Absolutely.
And if you delay by 1 week, then you have to have us back in the next.
Yeah, but Andy, the thing is, it's like, when you say there's a breach of contract, and I'm not saying you, when the organization says there's a breach of contract, right? And I'll defer to the town attorney and you all, you guys, attorney land, spend some time duking it out. But
I'm talking to them.
in order, I mean, we provide a grant, right? The breach is like, I don't understand the breach in the fact that we're providing a grant. It's a use of service that we really appreciate, and we know that you all provide a life safety service. We agree on that. But if we have a week or so that we have to go over, or if we set the dates together before we sign the contract and something comes up, we're going to do our best to get you on the books as quickly as possible, but I can't guarantee it's a week, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But I mean, I think we try to be as flexible as we can with trying to make sure that we can accommodate everybody's needs.
So going forward, Dave suggested the fifth Monday is in September and March.
I'm good with that. Lock them in.
We'll do exactly what we just agreed upon. I think we're all agreeing, and I'm checking.
Fifth Mondays.
And we'll do the fifth Monday, and we'll put on there, if an emergency, it can be rescheduled.
Absolutely.
That'll black and white.
Because we're also not going to, if we have illnesses, right?
Well,
We're not going to meet with just two people. So no, that's not going to happen. It takes three of us to make one.
Three others in the mayor.
Correct.
Right.
All right. And if, now, I think this occurred once too, just so that we're all on the record. If I can't attend and the vice president can't attend, we don't meet. It takes, I mean, not both of us together. It takes one of us to run a meeting.
One has to be present.
One has to be present to run a meeting. So, just so that matter of process. The other thing is that I was trying to get to, we are going to add some language to the contract that I think we have the discrimination of, what is it?
The protected
Sex,
classes.
Yeah. We're going to add all employment laws to that. Just so we're all on the same page.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just Mr. Gasko, just go on, Mr. Moore.
All right.
So, well, since we're talking contracts, I had some thoughts on some of the wordage of it, and I know that Joe, I know that, Mr. Moore and Mr. Gaskell do it. I don't think I have to go through them all tonight, but some of the stuff, some of the verbiage in here, well, first it's been copy and pasted quarterly for 2 years now, so we can take that up. But I think some of the way that it's structured and some of the questions I had by what was stated, I want to offer some ideas on how to maybe make it a little bit more clear to the public. I did email this out to our folks. I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know what to do here. If you want to send it to them,
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, if you have your contract in front of you, which I don't have all of them, but on the fire agreement for section 1, number 1, we removed quarterly, and then so we already established I'll just read it. BFC will meet in a public work session on the 5th Monday of September and March, however that's worded, and then with the mayor and council of Berlin to share information on pertinent topics regarding the fire and rescue operations and financial needs, discuss capital apparatus replacement, planning, and developing an equitable funding formula. I don't think I should write all that.
Yeah, just send it to
Yeah.
Mr. Gasko.
Yeah.
Let Mr. Gasko send it before, because I'm not going to take shorthand either.
Yeah, no, I know. And then for,
Need it clear?
Well, then, he's referring right to that email that's
I
attached.
just copied it to the word. Section 1, number 3. So it starts with now the town shall notify the fire company of all new building, blah, blah, blah. I think something a little bit in accordance with existing planning document submission schedule 1 month prior to a planning commission meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, that is to give staff adequate time to review it, to make sure it's ready for a meeting. It may not be ready.
So that might not work.
There might be errors that are identified that.
Okay, well, I'll just keep going.
There's no sense in pulling them in on documents that have to be amended.
Okay, I got you. So we'll reword this one, I think. But so what I was getting at ultimately was the town will include in the planning commission email distribution list, the president of the BFC or designate for their review of all new building and development activities, and the BFC shall provide an operational and financial impact report on the applications to the planning commission. What I really wanted to do there was the contract kind of just said it goes to the BFC without, like, what if you're, God forbid, something happens and it goes to one, I don't know, if it goes to one email, someone doesn't need to check it. I was just kind of looking for the balance.
That doesn't happen, it goes to the BFC.
But
It goes to.
I will say again, though, on these kinds of plans, while the fire company's input is valued legally, they don't have more input than any other member of the public. So we can't share with them documents that are not ready to be shared through normal channels.
I think you were saying you want their report back.
Right, yeah.
It's the deliverable from them to the
Yes,
plan.
is that the, I must, where's the
When
question
you-
there? Is
you
it, so
evaluate the
you
plan.
expect something?
You evaluate the
Okay.
plan, and then you write up.
Which you guys do already.
Something we do already.
Yeah, you guys do that
And then
already.
just make sure it gets back.
Yeah,
to
but yes, but my, and I can reword the timing. I just wanted to suggest that there be a specific individual that gets it. So, which would be the president or the designee, so, well, or designee, so.
They have a shared email.
Yeah, the BFC email goes into a group and it gets checked. There's nothing that doesn't get checked. Yeah, we have no problem with that, as long as you don't use constant contact and just send it.
Right, because you wanted it.
And everything's been working fine, Jack. Everything's
Okay,
been working
cool.
fine.
And I'll
Since
see that.
the consultant came on board, everything's been working fine. And the new, Brian, he's on board, he understands how it works. That all works well.
So, okay, well, good. All right, then I'll just drop that one.
We haven't had any because of the moratorium.
Great.
It was working well.
So essentially,
What's the emails, what is file?
essentially that was it for fire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
I have your mess.
You are next to me as well.
Laguna.
She's hot.
Yeah, one of you mess.
Send it to
You're
Joe.
ready to mess.
Are you still working on your list, Jack?
No, that was all for you.
Nope, fire company funding formula. David?
Well, just, Jack had a spreadsheet, and I think his couple questions were if I understood that spreadsheet. He was trying to do the same thing, and what we had talked about the last time, I pulled my last work session notes up, and mainly we talked about the capital funding. You know, a way to fund the capital is like we do for the county, is the $1,000 per call. And you asked about why there was a difference in like 2 or 3 per number. And there is going to be that difference, just so everybody knows that, because our semi-annual report, because we only come to you twice now, we get those numbers from the 911 center. They're going to be pretty close. They're not going to be off by more than, like you saw, 2 or 3. We don't go through every call. But when it comes to the end of the year, you start talking about money, you go through every call. And sometimes there's a duplicate in there. Somebody's called 911 twice for the same call. That's got to come out. Not going to pay $1,000 twice. We don't expect it. It's bookkeeping.
Sure.
So just to give you the numbers, it would be 100 for capital. Last year for 2024, there was 119 calls. I took that direct from the 911 center, and I did look down to see if I see any duplicates. I did not see any duplicates. But we also dig into the calls too, just to make sure they're not a fire marshal call or something like that. But 119, and I did look at the semi-annual and the 2-quarter reports, and it was 115. So I think there's just 4 that got this. So that just gives you an idea. That's what we talked about last time. You wanted an example of it, so that would be 119,000, and that would be designated as capital funds, the same we do for the county on the out-of-town calls. So that's the way to fund it. And it would vary year to year.
So that spreadsheet that I looked at, which I was intending to use it to help, like, try to do a formula, but I'm not a math guy.
Yep, no, that's a good.
Math is hard. But did you find it helpful in your checks and just kind of rechecking it? Or not?
Well, I just looked at the numbers that you looked at, looked at the quarterly reports, and then looked at the year-end number for 2024 that we got from the county, and I saw we were off like 3 or 4 calls, and I know what it is. It's the duplicates, or a call that's in our area, we didn't really respond, but maybe the fire marshal came to respond. So when she or he, whoever it is running those quarterly reports, we're doing this quickly. Now there's semi-annual reports. I don't get those a lot of times until the same day you all want the packet, believe it or not. I'm getting them like Friday at 5 or 6 o'clock, or I'm calling that Monday morning and like, you gotta stop what you're doing, please, because they want these packets, and the person does stop, and I get it, and again, we don't look through it because we don't have time. It's not gonna be off very many, but the end of the year number would be right, before anybody pays any money, you better believe it's double check, triple check.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you're very welcome. So that's the only thing I put on there for the formula, just again, throwing those ideas out, and it goes all the way back to the 2018 study, where the 3 scenarios were, keep doing what we're doing, just come up with the budget, plug a number in, come up with a formula, or come up with some sort of tax, 3 or 4 cents on the tax dollar, and dedicated to fire. If so makes sense for EMS, you just put it on the tax bill.
All right, let's move on to EMS. Impact fee update stays the same.
Same thing.
Go ahead for EMS contract.
Jackie, you just want to send your suggestions to
Yeah, I'm just gonna
send them to Mr. Gaskell, Mr. Gaskell, send them to Mr. Moore.
Yeah, some of them are similar, it looks really lengthy, but some of them are just the same.
Okay.
But yeah, that,
Right. And then the same thing for the EMS funding. Councilmember Green and Steve talked about it at the budget. If we want to sit down and do, a sample again, it wouldn't take me long, an hour maybe, to sit down and give you an example like I did before at a previous work session. And if you recall, when I did it before the previous work session, it well exceeded what we needed. As we said, it'd have to be tailored, but do some sort of per run amount so that it's very simple every year. Just like we go tomorrow to the county commissioners, it's pretty easy because it's just, Jack said, like you said, you're not mad. It is math. Your finance director will love it. Their budget officer loves it because that person just takes that spreadsheet. Once that amount per run is determined, it's just math. The budget's done. There's nothing. And the companies, not only us, but we live with it. We live within our means, and our costs do go up and down based on our runs. And we know when our runs go up, and we have good years, we know we have to put that money into contingency or whatever in case you have a slow year like COVID where you drop, 400, 500 runs a year. You've got to have that money because you're still going to have those 16 employees or 20 employees or whatever you have. So I can certainly do a draft, if you will. I mean, it won't take long to do it, like you said, to do another draft like we did the other work session. Just didn't do it this time because I didn't know what the appetite was.
And my appetite is full.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. But it would just be the in-town calls, whether we transported or we didn't transport, and the capital funding is per ambulance. How many ambulances we have in service? 3 now. If it's down the road, it's 4 or 5 because we all grow. Then multiply that much per ambulance times how many we have in service, not reserved, but in service in use. And again, it simplifies the budget process for everybody.
Would you guys be willing to include in your reporting to the town the amount of in-kind services the town provides, like water, cable, taxes?
So really, the only in-kind we get, I can tell you, is our water meter is not read.
It's going to start being read from the standpoint of, has it been relayed to you?
Well, if they can get, if
I'll
Jamie's
explain.
talked about it, it's got to be read because,
It's
and I know I worked with
It has to be.
MD, has to be
Because-
read to account for the water.
yes, we have significant water loss.
Yep.
So in the work that the mayor, not from you guys, but from the work that the mayor and council are doing regarding water and sewer rates, we got to account for the loss. So we're going to meter the firehouse so we have an idea of what it is. Tyler will produce a bill because of the way that it does it, and then we'll write down the bill to the minimum. So,
And it is right now, we have a meter at the firehouse now.
but it's an old,
But it's old, they're gonna do
It reads,
the new,
it doesn't.
whatever technology.
But that amount that you get that bill for, we just wanted to report it to the public. I'd like to see it.
Sure, yeah.
As in-kind services.
Yeah, so that's really the only thing we get, cable.
additional trash service. We charge for that typically. But, I mean, there's a pretty good, I'm not saying it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it is a fair amount, yes.
It has a value.
It does,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
And
and
the council-
we'll be able to sort of value that once the meter gets read, or we have the numbers for the meter. 'cause
And we can assist you with providing an idea of how much that.
And I didn't know that you charge for the 2 trash
Oh, yeah.
containers that are out front. And if that's a big deal, you can take them away, we've got enough.
No, we're not saying, we're not saying that. It's just,
No, I was
We're not-
just saying, we
we do
use
the
them
same
as
thing
extra
for the-
because we have a dumpster anyway.
yep, but we do the same thing. I think the trash can was requested when you guys put the vending machines out front, just as a way to help reduce trash and litter.
It was.
Which we're okay with. The same thing that we provide that service to the Little League, and that's really county property. But we do the
Yeah, we
same
can
thing.
do that. Yeah, I think they do that. Yep.
That's all I have.
All right. Sounds good.
Any other questions? Okay. All right.
I'm just curious, I mean, how do we feel about formula, mayor and council members? You know, we talked about it a lot. Like, I feel like, I've only been on the council for 3 years now, we've talked about formula a lot. I'm just curious what my colleagues think about it, you know. Are we in support of a funding formula? Honestly, the amount, from a realistic budgeting perspective, concerns, I think it concerns all of us, right? But I know that there's definitely a gap between what's obviously asked for and what we fund. Is a formula something that this group is interested in? I guess we don't have to decide, obviously it's a work session, but we have been beating it around, it's been on every agenda for a while. Are we interested in a formula, or are we looking at going a different direction?
Well, I think that from the budget creation standpoint, right, like your budget's flat this year in our FY '26 budget. And we try to give what we can. Now, do we think that maybe we can go from the 2 to the 205 for fire and meet that request? Probably, yes. Now, are we going to be able to hit the full lift in EMS? Probably not. I mean, we've got departments that we had a $500,000 deficit before they even got to tonight. And we had them tighten in the purse strings to meet the current budget that we discussed this evening. So are we going to probably be able to get to the 580 something number? No. I'm not even going to blow smoke. No. I don't know where that's going to come. Yeah, so I don't know where that's going to come from. Now, is the formula going to help us get there? Probably not. You know what I mean? Because we'd still have the same budget challenge that we have this evening. And I really don't think, if you look around this room, I don't think you're going to get it to the votes that you need to raise the taxes to get there. So knowing that, I have to provide that direction to the department heads and say, look, we got to really meet this number. And that would be my same direction to you all. Like, we might be able to move a little bit, but we can't do the whole shebang.
Well, what we do have in the budget this year is the impact fee study.
Correct?
And we can really look at fire and EMS as part of that study and raise some money, help additional revenue back.
Absolutely.
That could be passed. And that could be something.
Absolutely, but it's probably not going to be in FY '26, right?
It is in the works.
Right, and I know you guys want an EMS supervisor, got it. You know what I mean? And I know it's a headache, probably span of control, managing.
Yeah,
that
is there
many people.
another town department that has 16 people with no supervisor ostensibly?
Absolutely not, but you're not a town department.
You're not a town department.
I get that, but we are providing a critical service to this town. So, and
100%.
you look at Lewis, you look at Somerset County, it's cautionary tales of what happens when they say, it's not worth headache anymore. So, I would say, I get that we're not a town department, but we are providing something that is irreplaceable, right?
We don't dispute that.
So, and we are providing a 24-hour-a-day service. This isn't accounting, this isn't surveyors, this isn't planners. So the nuances that go into the modern day fire EMS scheduling is incredible. It's not 20 years ago, it's not, the guy down the street's gonna work every day, he's never calling out, da, 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 da. We have younger, newer employees, we have people working multiple jobs. It is the nature of the beast now, right? So you look at Ocean City, holdovers, overtime, da, 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 da. We are not immune to that. We have 4 people around the clock that have to be staffed. People have family emergencies, sick call-outs, vacation time, da, 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 da. So when they call out, that person cannot, if somebody in the town office calls out, okay, they're not gonna be at work today, no big deal. We cannot do that. Someone has to be there. So people call out all through the night, or somebody gets hurt at work. So, this is something that there's a call out at 11 PM, 1 AM, 3 AM, 5 AM. Hey, we've got a hole now, 24-hour hole. It's 4 AM. We just had an employee have a family emergency who called at 4 AM. I'm not going to be there tomorrow. It's a 4 AM sick call out. It leaves a 24-hour hole, which means now everybody's got to get up and scramble. Supervision will alleviate that kind of thing. We can get people basically in a dugout on a bench. The supervisor or supervisors, if we went that route, can say, hey, I've already got this planned. I already know what I'm going to do. I got something set up. So it is a monumental task, just doing staffing, just getting staffing down.
Do you
That's
have
before we equip anybody. What's that?
I understand you have 4 people a day, and I understand, I also understand your passion because it falls on your shoulders most of the time.
It does, but we are operating in a new era where, again, Ocean City just tried to hire people. They got 1 paramedic. Anne Arundel County's got 60 people in an academy class, 1 paramedic. So everyone is trying to squeeze blood from a rock that we're all at the same rock, and nobody can get a blood drop out of it. So that to make it more easy, even on just the employees, to have 24-hour supervision or something where they all know, the song changes every day, but we kind of know the beat. I cannot stress this enough, to make the operation run and to keep it from, we're not in danger of collapse, but it cannot continue this way. They've got to have something. So to make that work, supervision has to be there. And again, it's for sick call-outs is a big one, vacation's a big one, but the equipping of uniforms, the ever-changing protocols, now what used to be able to go to AGH, if you're in a crash with an airbag deployment, whereas before it could be a low speed in a parking lot, it's a big deal. Every single airbag deployment has to go to Salisbury now. So that means these guys are making on-the-fly decisions while having a patient on the stretcher in the hospital, because Berlin gets 3 calls at a time, every time. So these guys are like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? We have 1 call now stacked in the queue for EMS, and it looks like they're about to drop a fire alarm in town. These guys are making all these moving parts, things moving in multiple directions and on multiple dimensions. They're already doing the work of supervising. So it's only fair that we start to put in place something to say, look, before we start losing people, we're going to get some sort of supervision or supervisory role in place.
Do you have that on each shift, or is everybody equal?
No.
Why have you guys not done that?
Why would anybody do that who's not getting paid extra?
Well, you have the ability, rather than tapping 1 supervisor to manage all 4 shifts, you have the ability, correct me if I'm wrong, to have a lead or a supervisor of each shift. Correct?
Can I touch on that? Let's not get into personnel. No, we're not going to get into personnel out here in the public and our employees listening to us on the camera, making promises and things like that.
No, I'm asking a broad question, why you can't bring supervision to each shift.
So we have supervision plans available, and we thought of that at the appointment committee. But again, we're not going to discuss personnel things in the public.
What I would say is you need to follow up with us about that.
Yeah, so I was going to suggest if we want to meet at the committee level or follow up in writing, we can do that.
But nobody's going to do that.
But we have.
Right, I'm
we've
not
explored-
saying that.
But you sound like you are.
No,
You would have to, if you were gonna do that, you would
Andy,
have to
but
compensate
hold
the
on,
shift.
one second. I got like 70-something employees that work here. If I'm gonna ask them to do something more, chances are that comes along with more money. You agree?
Absolutely.
So.
Well, hence the ask.
But no, that's not in there. Is it in there?
So-
If so, I'm missing it.
So,
Supervision needed,
yes,
it's
supervision,
right there.
and
Is
we,
that the $100,000 increase that I'm seeing in personnel?
not just for supervision, we've explored all avenues of supervision. That is our entire budget. We don't pick out.
That's as is.
What part?
We don't take out, we don't, and this is what, he's getting ready to ask the same question asked before, and that's when you whack the budget and really killed us, because we said that there was $121,000 in there for supervision. It wasn't the town was gonna pay $121,000, but the town whacked our budget $121,000, our request, like the town was paying the whole thing. So we can give you some scenarios and some costs separately other than open session. So we
But
can
to that-
give you,
to
within
that
that
point-
budget, some options of what it's gonna cost us.
Well, my question this time is how much is your step and 3% COLA costing?
I can figure that out for you. I don't know the red top of my head because that's a big four.
I mean, the bulk, it'd be step increases, COLA, overtime, supervision. That's driving the number.
All right, I hear you on that. Now, the other thing is you're gonna go meet with the county. I think that Councilmember Orris has brought this up many times, that we're kind of siloed, right? Like, you have two major funders. One's the town, one's the county. Then you also have the state, but I think both of us probably fund more than that. And with that, we're fragmented in the conversations, right? So maybe what we have to explore is what Councilmember Orris has brought up many times, bringing all the parties together in one spot to try and figure this out. You say that you're pulling from everybody in the county with salary numbers and things of that nature, trying to get blood out of a stone, as Andy said. But we're addressing it siloed, right? You're addressing it with the mayor and council of Berlin, you're addressing it with the commissioners. There's benefit in putting us all together in the same room.
Well, can I ask, it looked like on the slots revenue, you guys are getting about 450,000?
We get more than that probably, I think.
I could know.
Thereabouts.
It looked like 450 in the
Okay.
budget.
Is that
give or
what you're
take.
saying, buddy? Okay, I'll trust you.
Is there a reason we don't get very much of that? And I say that as somebody, again, who works in Anne Arundel County, who is aware of what Maryland Live contributes to that fire.
Maryland Live's a much bigger
It
casino.
is a much bigger casino.
And-
So what
Agreed.
Maryland Life contributes to the fire department?
And they
buys
probably,
fire
but
trucks
hold
to
on,
people.
hold on.
To the fire
Predominantly,
department.
Yes.
but predominantly,
do they-
hold on, can I explain?
Please.
But the reason is Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County gets the larger split, the same way Worcester County gets the larger split. Worcester County earmarks it for schools. So we get a small split, and we are one of the smallest ones you get. So it goes county, then to Ocean City, then to Berlin.
So, but how much of that, that's all directed towards public safety, or it has to be put towards public safety?
We use it for a blend of some for EMS.
15,000?
Correct, over
Right.
3 years. We were using some for LEOPS, and a little bit for the community center, and a little bit for public works.
And I think the percentage breakdown is the lion's share is education and public safety.
No. There are broad categories, and each recipient has the ability to direct the funding where they would like, but it doesn't say you have to.
Now, I was under the impression the legislation clearly spelled out a certain percentage.
Not here.
It gives us broad latitude
It
within.
gives you categories, but
Right.
it doesn't give you percentages. You couldn't use it, for instance, to renovate a town. Well, maybe you could, I don't know. There are limitations to what you can.
I guess
use.
where I was getting at was, I was under the impression the Berlin Police Department was backstopped with a great deal of casino money.
Huh.
The new
Absolutely.
building, was it not?
Oh, the whole thing
Years
was
ago,
funded.
yes.
Oh,
The
yeah.
whole thing was funded.
The whole thing was funded.
Right, so
Years ago.
when I'm,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we are the primary response agency to that, not the Berlin Police.
What do you mean?
Berlin Fire Company is the primary response agency to the casino. Berlin Police is not.
But the casino is
So-
outside of town limits.
I get that.
Yeah, Andy said
And they're
the
already
same
getting
thing.
you $450,000. So my point would be, we are the primary emergency response agency. It goes state police, then county sheriff, then Berlin police. So if you're looking to free up some money, maybe it's time to,
Maybe you need to have this discussion
With the
county.
casino.
With the casino.
Because the county,
they're giving you the money.
no, but as Vice President Burrell's saying, this is a good point to bring up with the county that receives the majority of the share and that has, that's a county service area.
Well, I'm just speaking and freeing up money that you are saying that is not there.
No, the money that's there is fully allocated.
Right. I guess my point would be,
We actually
Berlin
front
Police
fund
has
it. We actually,
received a
so,
great deal of money from
absolutely.
that. So we have not, the fire company has not through the town. So maybe it's time to,
Well, you need to talk to the county.
I don't know why I need to talk to the county.
Because the casino is not in the city limits of the town of Berlin.
They're giving you the money, right?
But
writing you a check, right?
But
Town of
But at the
Berlin.
same
Yes.
time, every
But
time
that's-
you all make a run to the casino.
Correct.
You're getting paid by the county for that run. You're not getting paid by the town of Berlin. That's an out of town service call too, as well.
And Berlin
correct?
Police have never run a single call there.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. In the
Well,
legislation,
it's comparing the same thing. You're saying you guys shouldn't be on the hook to give casino money to us because it's not in the town.
we didn't say that.
That's
No,
not what we
you-
Well, I
we
didn't say
didn't
paraphrase.
say that.
Well,
But
okay, what
we
did
are
you say?
giving you casino money, and furthermore, the 15,000, right, wasn't even there. We took that out of reserves to give it to you all in the front side because we have to wait for the reimbursement. So we wanted to front fund that for you guys, so that you had a steady payment coming in. And yeah, it says 2 of 3, but the likelihood is that we'll probably continue for 4, 5, 6. But is it gonna grow? I don't know. But right now, in the current formula that we have, that we've presented to the local development council, it's 15,000 for 3 years. I mean, and I hear you on, and I understand your passion, I got it. But the mayor and council are open to constructive things with the fire company to fund capital and things like that. We just started down a pathway with the parking lot, and you mentioned tonight about parking lot revenue probably declining. Our first offer was to you all, right? So you got to understand that when we're trying to help you, the option's there. But if you're going to say no or jack the price up to some ungodly figure, we're probably going to go a different course. And then when you're saying, where's my capital? We're kind of looking at you saying, you bit your hand off. Am I wrong?
I won't concede the point, but you do have a point. That being said, I don't mean to step on a hot button with the casino.
No, you're fine,
But,
Andy. We understand you're passionate and we understand that you're working with limited resources. We got you.
Sure, and I think for many years, it's been an acrimonious relationship between the town fire department and its town governing body. So, and my intent is not to further that, despite the tone I might be taking.
You're
here
fine,
tonight.
Andy. You're fine.
But,
You're very passionate.
My intent was to build bridges, not burn them.
Okay, we'll help you with that.
You can put them out, you're the fire company.
I will digress and zero back in on, there's a $100,000 gap between the ask and the give, seemingly, right? And you rightly asked, for what? What am I buying with this $100,000?
But we understand that costs do go up, but to Vice President Burrell's point earlier, the way that it looks on numbers, I know you got a formula with the county, the way it looks is kind of like teetering along, and then we're like, all right, here's the hole, we're gonna plug that with Berlin. That's a hard pill to swallow.
It sure is, I would agree.
But I think that, to Steve's point, we might have some difficulties getting to a formula because our budgets, like, when you think about the county, right? They have like 4 or 5 different levers they can pull for revenue. The town of Berlin has one, right?
Right.
And that is real estate tax.
Well, and I am a town resident, so.
So in a year when
past,
there's
you had
20%.
Residents speaking freely about, let's just raise taxes. I will be paying those taxes.
But in a year when so you gotta think about it this way too. We hear that, but residents are gonna pay higher taxes this year because their valuations.
We already are.
Right.
I'm well aware.
Right,
Yeah.
it's gonna go up. So then, we hear, say we have a budget form, or a funding formula, and then we come in with a donut hole of 100 and something thousand. That's probably 3 cents. So on top of your 20%, we're gonna add 3 cents. Sure, it's a critical service, we recognize that. But we've got several of those, you know what I mean? They might not be life safety for a medical emergency, but trust me, when somebody down the street doesn't get their deck permit,
Sure,
it is
yeah,
their
and-
biggest
and-
emergency.
I have a broken trash can lid, and I think I have a crisis.
Yes, exactly right. We will get that.
My whole family is convinced we have a crisis.
Which you're
So I get
addressing,
it, I get it.
exactly.
You never need us
Until you need us. Yeah, I got
And
you.
then you're gonna think,
That was the most important service of the day.
right,
Yep.
right, and they took too long to get here, and they're da-da-da-da.
Correct.
So,
Yep. The ambulance was bumpy.
I get it, yeah, right.
Gotcha.
I understand, I think we understand, the fire company understands. Nobody thinks about us until it's right now, and I need you now.
Right.
So, again, that is the 9-inning explanation of why that number is that way, and I'm so, not incensed, but passionate about it, because I too am a career person somewhere. I understand what it is to be a career person in a town, and you do too.
And to have people at this level making funding decisions that really impact
And it's-
how you
right.
guys get to run.
If we're gonna recruit and retain, those guys talk, they'll watch this, and if they see their governing body, one half of it, you know, you guys in the county, if they see what looks to them like, I'm not gonna get my step this year, I'm not gonna get my COLA this year, we're not gonna get a boss that we can go and have accountability with and to, it reflects badly on us, and it puts us behind the 8 ball to try to find people. And we're not sitting on our hands. I know our fundraisers are a little dated looking, but we are actively beating the bushes looking for EMTs and paramedics. So when they see this kind of thing, the applicant is not gonna watch this meeting, but all the employees will. And those guys, everybody talks. It's a network. They all talk to each other. Hey, you work for Berlin. What's going on? Well, did you watch that meeting? They might cut our funding. So I don't even know if I'm going to get some XYZ this year, which it may not be the case, but just the mere perception of that uncertainty is enough to sink the boat.
Just think, you talk about folks watching this, this broadcast, and we have employees watching the broadcast also. And when they're here, that the fire department is getting a step and a 30% raise, and we're only getting 2%, that puts us in a precarious situation. But a statement.
I would tell you, we're hired.
A statement you made, I want to take exception with.
Okay.
The statement you said is that the fire department is not thought of until they're needed. That's not true. That is not true. And I don't think it's true by none of us that sits on this council.
Not at all.
We do realize the importance of your job and your benefit to our community, but we want you to know, when it comes down to budget time, we do the best we can. We're not.
Yeah, and I wasn't referring to you all. I'm referring to the public at large.
But
We're
we
not
also want your
withholding-
employees, your staffers to know who are watching this, your career folks, when they say, did you see that meeting with the town of Berlin? Wow, they may be in a spot where they can't give us everything. We might have to go to our second funding source to see if they can increase what they're going to give. I'm not saying that we need to be the ones to give you, to provide the difference between the $100 and $1,000 difference, or whatever this is, because I did the math and I calculated whatever the difference is.
Call it 100. Instead, I called it 100.
Well, it's more than 100.
101 it is then.
It is, and it's even more than that. But at the same time, when you ask the questions about why not, we can't answer 50% of those questions. Actually, we probably can't even answer 75% of those. The commissioners could probably give you better answers to some of those than we can. When you guys say, when we look at these numbers and you say the funding sources have changed and we've not been able to give this and this and that over the years, and I'm not discrediting any of the dollar amounts, not at all, because at the end of the day, when we've come with whatever it is that we're asked to, you've asked, we've given what we can, but then another apparatus is needed, and we make it happen some kind of way. We can't always give 100%, but most of the time we give 50, if not 50, very close to. I'm not saying that you don't go to them, because I can't watch them meetings during the day because I'm at school teaching at 1 o'clock when their meeting is. But what I'm stating is, the same way that you guys are here with us at night, having the work session and asking for the addition, I'm not saying that you don't, but I hope that your career folks are saying, when they say, dang, Berlin can't do the 101,000 difference, maybe we should also go back to the folks who get more of the money, because the county gets far more than we do. And they have far more in their coffers than we do. They may be the next people to go to as well. After, if it can't all come from us, go back to them again. You see what I'm saying? Because the
We're in
casino
front of the
funds.
county tomorrow, rest assured.
Yeah, and make
Sound
sure
this way.
some of those career folks should, honestly, I really believe they should tackle them, really, truly, because.
They watch the meetings, both county.
Well, not only are you a true asset to us, but just like you stated, every time that something happens at that spot, they call you guys first, even though Ocean Hines is 30 seconds down the street, but you guys will be the first responders there, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
That dates back a long way.
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, it's right.
And plus, with Fire Station 3, geographically, it puts it closer.
But you don't keep an ambulance.
No, well, that's not true. Those guys work out there, they do apparatus checks there. So,
The gym is there.
yeah, an ambulance does respond out of there, if we're gonna be technical about it, but the spirit of what you're saying is correct. It's just,
I'm just curious.
I don't have a good answer for you.
That dates back a long.
Yeah, it is.
long time ago. And that's
Well,
also why
it's-
Station 2 is where Station 2 is.
Yeah.
David knows it as well as I do.
2, Watch Station 3 is where it is.
Because
Well,
Ocean
probably
City's
dates back
closer
longer than
to
most
South
folks who are
Point.
sitting there have lived in the.
Well,
It used to not be an
So
Ocean
let's
Pond
make it
Fire
work.
Company. So
Probably.
Ocean
You
Pond
know
is
what I'm
one of
saying?
the
It's
newer
time
fire
to get past
companies.
that part.
They used to not be allowed to come out of the gates.
Yep.
Now they're allowed to come out of the gates. So a lot of things have changed, but it was territory.
But I just want to go back, I don't know everybody's late,
Come on, this is fun.
what Councilmember Nichols said. So that's part of the strategic planning group, as well as the group of presidents, chiefs, and EMS captains that meet. The county does increase. I can tell you, there's not been a year that they don't increase that formula. So they do. Every year they increase that formula. Because, and that's again why formula is good, because that base rate is based upon a federal Medicare rate. So it's got a tie to it. So it's not just a number that is off the whim. It also balances out, because if you take our budget, the 2 million, divide by our runs, it costs about $1,000 every time that ambulance goes. Well, the transport's not, it's $1,000. I think you've asked before, what is the cost every time? It's about $1,000. I did the math over the weekend when I was tidying up the spreadsheet. Took the total budget, and I used round numbers. So
Yeah,
it's about $1,000 every time that ambulance rolls out the door.
And a good example of I don't want to call it a sunk cost, a cardiac arrest now, is somebody not breathing, the whole 9 yards, right? Sometimes we don't get them back, which means we've expended 2 ambulances, an engine. But are you aware, this will only make sense to the mayor, we have to use two monitors now for these dual sequential shocks. So we're caching 2 sets of pads, which are expensive. Pads are the things you put on to shock somebody with, right? So we've used 2 sets of pads, bunches of equipment, drugs, everything. And we leave the person there for the family, we clean up and all that. But this is a very high number a high dollar amount of equipment that is just gone.
Because the new protocols you treat on site.
Yes, the idea is, that, and this is just for everybody's knowledge, why aren't you guys picking them up going to the hospital? Because we brought the hospital with us. Everything the hospital will do, we have already brought there.
So if you do all that and then don't transport it because the patient passes away, guys, whatever, you don't get paid?
Through the county formula, yes, but
The county.
But it's a non-transport.
it is a non-transport.
As a non-transport, and then we do bill. It just depends on what kind of coverage they have, what kind of insurance coverage they have.
But percentage of that situation compared to an actual transport, it's probably a low percentage.
Yeah, we don't have one of those calls
Yeah,
every day.
it's not quite negligible, but it's.
Yeah, but to the chief's
But-
point, I mean,
it's-
it's an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, it is.
I can see that.
The amount of resources, and these aren't meant to be reused stuff, almost everything's, you have to throw, for obvious reasons, it's gotta be thrown away. So, but, more and more, the good news is we're bringing a lot more stuff, and survivability is way up, like way up. So that's great. The bad news is, in the events when it's not a survivable arrest, we have now expensed 3 times as much as just 2 years ago in equipment. And it is what it is. It's that, you know, I'm not sitting here saying we're not going to do that. But that insofar as cost outside of what we can control, this is what we have to do to save a life, right? And they've determined that you do more of this stuff and you have a higher probability of saving a life. So ergo, we're going to do it. But also ergo, it's a lot of money going out the door that is.
And you can't direct bill for that.
And not for,
Well, we said.
we will attempt, but.
Yeah, we make an attempt, but I look at the cardiac arrest calls, it just depends what their insurance is. It really does, depends what their insurance coverage is.
And everything's more expensive.
And you got 2 units out when you probably get 3 calls.
All of
There's
our.
always.
And then you
Everybody
lose
we got
out.
working.
Always.
Tied up, plus volunteers are tied up.
So to answer Councilmember Green's question, I am interested in seeing how a formula would work. And, you know, I can try to make something now that I have some of the data, or help, but I really think that in order for that to be, well, I'm not going to go into that work if there's really no interest, but I think that really at this point, and this is probably happening nationally, we need to figure out a way, I believe, to what Mayor alluded to, that I had mentioned before, is like some of our representatives going to these county meetings with you or being part of that discussion, because I don't know, and I don't know how volunteerism is going to look in another 5 years. And I think that, and I'm not throwing them under, but I think that municipalities in Worcester County, I think that the commissioners of Worcester County need to actually sit down and have a good conversation about this, about EMS, about fire. Because it's tough for all of us now.
It's only trending in one direction.
It may get a lot worse.
And to Councilor Morris's point too, like if let's say you all pursue, like I know the SAFER grant has the tie to the engine, right, for staffing, got it. But if there's some collaboration between the town and the county, we say, look, we're short-staffed, you're down 2 ALS providers, and I mean, for over a year. If we have the ability to maybe work together on a SAFER grant, yeah, sure, they're going to be on an engine. Sometimes we have the ability to pull them off, but maybe it's something we achieve together and give you guys a little bit more staffing, or allow you to have a supervisor. I don't know, but to Councilmember Orse's point, we can't really get there because it's siloed, right? We go down there, to Mary's point, she was whispering a moment ago, they flat fund us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have a
Like,
decrease funding.
this is the first year, last year, that we got an increase in 7 years,
Yeah.
5, 7 years. So, I mean, we feel the pain in some of that stuff as well. But we can overcome some challenges if we are able to collaborate together. But,
And I think a formula, I still think it's just something that we should do.
I think it would be a helpful way to see the cost. I just don't know if we could commit to it right off the bat.
I think part of the problem is, and I hope I'm not saying anything that isn't really obvious. A formula fluctuates. You don't know what it's going to be from year to year.
Right.
So then in the year that it is higher, what services are you going to cut to make up the difference? What town services are going to be cut to make up the difference?
Well, I
And
think it
that's,
gives us something to, I think as we stated from the beginning of the formula discussion, it gives us some type of basis to look at. Because right now.
It gives you a number to at least have an
Sure,
idea.
yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, because right now, we are going on,
Really, we're just saying here.
Yeah, here's what we got.
It puts it in a better light than backing into the number and saying, this is what you have left. It puts some context to it, to me.
but I mean, at the same time,
You
a
know,
formula doesn't, if we don't have it, we don't have it. If a you know what I'm saying, if a formula, if this formula, if coming up with the formula and looking at what it looks like, exploring it, looking at it versus, I don't even know what we're doing right now. If the formula doesn't, it's worth looking at. I'll put it to you like that, because I mean, this right here, we don't know. We keep doing this. We keep chasing our tails every year.
It's like stepping coals, there's no guarantee.
No.
So now, I have a question too. Is it true that some medical assist facilities will call you if a patient needs to be lifted? Well, is there a policy in-house with them that you know of that
Like a lift
precludes?
assisted nursing home?
I don't want to say names, but just in general, broadly, places that you might go regularly, is there a new call volume that exists because of any policy out there where they will not?
No, no.
Okay.
And if that became a policy,
We would want to know right away.
it's not going to happen.
Okay, good.
I and Joe Dahl will go over there and
Okay.
we'll solve that immediately.
Good.
If you heard it on the radio or something like that, the only thing I can
No,
surmise.
I did not. I heard this through somebody that was talking about those types of facilities. It was no connection to.
The only time I can
Not
surmise
here,
something
but
like
Correct.
that.
I just heard that in my passing.
You might get, an example would be Gull Creek, a resident calls 911 themselves and doesn't go through their proper chain of emergency procedures to tell the staff, I'm on the floor.
But an institution is not making that decision and then calling. That's what I would do.
So I just came back from the spring training, so in one of the papers down there, one of the counties has a problem, and their county, and I don't know if it's council or commission, their county form of government, they are passing in their budget July 1st, there will be a $500 charge to any facility that makes a call like that, and it will be a lien on their property taxes, because they apparently have an
Yeah,
issue.
those types of things.
No,
I think are-
we would stop that.
But we have an
right away.
issue countywide with calls for lift assist all over the place.
Right.
All sorts of repeat customers, and that's why the mobile integrated health. And
Do they have that for this area now?
so, yes, so it's
Okay.
only active on Thursdays.
Okay.
So part of the request of the president, chiefs, and EMS captains, and Rebecca from the health officer,
Yep.
is $210,000 to have that unit work Monday through Friday daytime to help us, EMS, Broad, not Berlin, everybody, with these calls. So when they come in during the daytime, Monday through Friday, and dispatchers are assured that's the issue, the person will wait, and that will go. And they'll be proactive in, if those calls happen at night, they can go the next day and say, I'll use my name, Mr. Fitzgerald, why do you keep falling? Do you need a handrail built? Do you need a ramp? We need to rearrange your bedroom so that you can kind of have a way to get to the bathroom so you're not calling 911.
Yeah, they came and did a thing at the last Chiefs Association meeting, and there are, in the town of Berlin, they call them clients. Mitch has, I want to say, like 20 in town Berlin, and I think in Berlin's response area, they have, I want to say like 50 maybe. And it's granted-
Frequent customers.
Yeah, people that are generally speaking old, but can't care for themselves, or can't toilet themselves, can't do this, a million things. They go out there and alleviate the nonstop lift assists from the fire department, but also the hazards that those people bring to their neighbors in town with poor hygiene, stuff like that. They tend to drag everybody in their little perimeter down. That's a bad way to put it, but it is what it is. They go in there, help them clean up, get services in, so that kind of thing. Quality of life comes up for them, and, that's like a rising tide for everybody around them. Their boat comes up, so do the other boats around them.
Jeff, you have a question?
No, that's through the health department.
Cooperation between the health department and the EMS companies, because we have paramedics that work for them. There's a paramedic and another advanced medical provider, nurse practitioner, or PA.
Yeah, Ocean Pines is giving them a utility vehicle to use.
Ocean Pines, well, they charge them for it, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a partnership
Of
between
coalition.
the health department, the emergency medical services, and Lake General, and the insurance company. So that's how this usually gets funded.
That's the largest population right now.
Is it gets funded through the insurance companies. It's cheaper for ABC Insurance Company to give a grant to Worcester County Health Department for $100,000 and eliminate 50 ambulance transports, ER visit, ER doc, x-ray, laboratory, the radiologist, the claims. So if they can get 50 calls off the books and give you 100 grand, they better give you 100 grand. So,
Plus the way that Maryland model for funding hospitals is if you go.
Yeah, if they repatriate within 24 hours, the hospital gets banged for it.
the
So
And they don't get
Chrysalis
paid.
picks them up and they don't get paid.
that's why hospitals are funding it.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
so it's a good thing.
Yeah, it makes, yeah,
And it
at
keeps,
the end of the day,
it keeps the crews available, because that's the other thing, and you hate to guilt some patients, but sometimes that's what you have to do. And you don't guilt them, but you explain very diplomatically. Mr. Fitzgerald, every time you call, and I'm here for 45 minutes getting you up and answering questions, turning your stove off because you're gonna burn your house down. Miss Fitzgerald's having a heart attack, and now gotta wait for Shadow to come to him. So so to get back to the real point of Mayor's question, it's a nationwide issue of the 911 calls, because people are unable to take care of themselves, times have changed, families, like myself.
I don't have proper care.
Well, my wife and I mean, I'm sure we don't have any kids. Who's gonna take care of my wife and I when we get old? We have to make those plans.
Andy's got it.
Andy's got it. Andy's got it. I'm a one-man band. But you have more and more of those people who truly don't have any relatives. They're the man or woman who doesn't have any kids, their parents are deceased, their aunts and uncles are deceased, and they're by themselves, they are truly by themselves.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. He's got a motion by Jack. Second by Dean, all in favor?